South Park video games have a proud history going.
I don't know about proud.
South Park, the video game.
Let a company go make a South Park video game.
And it was just the crappiest video game.
No control over it. You just put these games out and
South Park Rally, the racing game.
like race your cars and all this stuff, and we're just like, that's stupid.
We hated those games so much that we basically said never again.
We started saying, if we did do a video game, this time it'd be a totally hands-on project.
And put our blood, sweat, and tears in it, and it turns out it's really hard.
South Park was an instant hit, debuting in 1997 to nearly 1 million viewers, an astonishing achievement at the time for basic cable. South Park took off quicker, faster, and with more impact than any sort of rock band or music act that I'd ever seen, and got an immediate, incredible critical response.
You recorded it, you gave your tape to a friend, and I remember going to school telling all my friends about it and then getting in trouble. Those first 6 episodes just spread like wildfire.
It wasn't long till everyone wanted to jump in on the success, with Viacom receiving floods of calls to make South Park licensed merch. Trey Parker stated they hardly make any money from it.
Didn't realize that we make like 1 penny for every 8 magnets sold.
During halfway through the first season, production began on a South Park video game, which would be developed by the company Iguana Entertainment and published by Acclaim Entertainment, which the company wants to release in time for the holidays of 1998, putting the developers under a tremendous amount of pressure to release a complete game in 6 months. This was to try and catch an audience from the show's height of popularity, meaning Acclaim decided to take a massive shortcut and make a lesson-inspired South Park game, having the game be a first-person shooter and running on the same engine as the popular FPS series Turok. The game released on schedule, but not without its hiccups. Dreamcast Junkyard said Iguana merely took their successful N64 based Turok 2 game engine, stripped out any mention of the Lazarus Concordance, I don't need to go into detail of what that is, we all know, and lazily replaced them with even more fog, piss-soaked snowballs, and thousands upon thousands of mindless turkeys, which turkeys around the world didn't take lightly.
Who you calling mindless, Holmes? I beg you real good.
A GameSpot critic went one step further and said, South Park is bound to come up when you start thinking about the worst game you've ever played. We later found out that this reviewer was just trying to deflect attention away from his beautiful and untalented wife, Bubsy. Despite the negative reviews, the game sold 241,000 units in its first 9 days. Many fans have expressed their love for the game on YouTube. However, the biggest critics were Matt and Trey, who any opportunity they get say how much they hate the game.
This fucking sucks.
And it was just the crappiest video game.
We hated those games so much.
This was the beginning of a downward spiral, as the next South Park outings were even more unfortunate. South Park Rally was one of Acclaim's next attempts at making a South Park game, hiring the company Tantalus Interactive, an Australian-based developer, to work on the game in 1999. The reason this company was chosen to develop the game was...
Hi Cal, thank you for reaching out. We had a really good time walking down memory lane. South Park Rally was one of the first games that Tantalus designed and developed. We got the contract because there was a couple of coders who had a physics racer demo.
One of the surprising things about this game compared to other kart races at the time is that the terrain in the game is actually skatable.
For example, there's like half pipes and bowls, and there's handrails to grind. We position them just so you can launch onto them. It was only made possible because of the physics engine of the game.
But Acclaim did have some issues with Tantalus' design choice and asked for alterations. Yes, this is the same company that had ad campaigns for dead relatives on tombstones called Deadvertising, which was perfectly fine for them, but making cars too fast? How dare you?
During polish, higher-ups, possibly Acclaim, asked for the karts to be slowed down, which kind of changed a lot of things, like jumps weren't being reached, cornering, because it was a physics-based car game, it affected everything. I don't know why they decided to slow it down.
And according to Andy, Matt and Trey, despite slating the game, gave the developers the thumbs up.
Our contact was with Acclaim, but pretty much every idea that we gave to Matt and Trey, they pretty much approved everything.
I asked Andy, we know the game had cut characters like Miss Crabtree and a clown, but was there anything else that was scrapped?
Mark remembers putting Cartman's mother flashing her boobs on the swinging pirate ship. A couple of other designers thought it was a bit rude.
IGN even mentioned in their review that the developers Tantalus were not even featured on the box.
You made me grab my versions down off the shelf. You're right, the Tantalus Interactive logo is not on the box.
But despite the turbulent development process, Andy Yong and Mark Warhurst have great memories making the game.
Yeah, it was an amazing time for us from memory. Mark and I remember those years fondly. Felt like we had the freedom to design anything we wanted, which is rare.
Despite the game having negative reviews, the game did receive something far more noteworthy.
A year after the release of South Park, we won an award for the best use of flatulence. Don't know who has that award.
which was handed to Meryl Streep, who couldn't control her tears. The game also sold more than 1 million copies, which is a big win in my book, and did seem like the developers didn't get to release their true vision for the game and had a very tight deadline due to the higher ups. I just want to say a big thanks to Andy Yong and Mark Warhurst for joining to talk about the development process. Mark Warhurst was there, he just wears a big puffer jacket like Kenny. Chef's Love Shack was Acclaim Entertainment's attempt at a party/trivia game set in the world of South Park, in similar tone to the Mario Party series. With the product manager for Acclaim Entertainment quoting, "Fans of South Park are going to love Chef's Love Shack." I'm guessing he said this with the smuggest look while inhaling his fart, as not only was the game rushed again so it could be released for the holidays, but was panned by critics. One of the developers even sarcastically saying to the website VentureBeat, "It's a Golden Globe winner for sure, the highest quality you could get out of the market in 5 months. Due to another shocking attempt at making a game with the South Park IP, Trey and Matt refused to give the license to any other company to make their games, as they hated them.
I'll say it right now, we did this deal with Acclaim and they just screwed up every game that we did. It sucks.
It wasn't long till Acclaim Entertainment finally got their karma, with the company being sued by the duo. No, not Matt and Trey, but the next worst thing, Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. God help them. Who sued the company for $178,000 over not paying for using royalties of the girls in their games. The girls now reportedly haunt the officers of Acclaim like the twins in The Shining. Pay us, you bastards. Jesus Christ. But this isn't the only controversy Acclaim ran into, and honestly, some of these even surprised me at how idiotic they are. So how many people here are called Turok? Of course none of you are, because your parents aren't f***ing idiots. One example was a promise that a £6,000 prize would be awarded to UK parents who would name their baby Turok. But this would later be discovered by VG247 that all those who had reportedly changed their names were actors. It wasn't long after this controversy that their edgy marketing campaigns would finally catch up to them, with the final nail in the coffin being a topless BMX game called BMX XXX, which many believe is the contributing factor of why the company filed for bankruptcy in 2004. Back in 2004, when Xbox 360 and PS3 were starting to come out, Matt and Trey started discussing the possibility of making a brand new South Park game.
Let's do one game that we really do. We'll do all the writing for it and make it win. It was just the worst mistake.
It wasn't until 2009 that Parker and Stone believed the technology was finally there to make the South Park game they envisioned.
When the current gens came out, we thought that they were finally capable of doing a game that looked just like the show. That was sort of the thing that excited us,
prompting them to contact the game company Obsidian to discuss the potential of making a brand new South Park game. Parker was a huge fan of Obsidian and their role-playing games, and believed that they would be a perfect fit to develop a South Park RPG.
So when the South Park project came up, it was kind of a big surprise. If we can't make the game look like South Park, then why make it?
Before Obsidian had even agreed to make the game, Trey Parker had wrote an original script which was 850 pages long. Trey quotes,
And it had just about every character and everything, and we started to just, really track, okay, when does this mean it would come out? And we started looking at holiday season 2032.
Obsidian, after their initial call with the South Park creators, worked on a prototype for the game, creating the outside and inside of Stan's house, with Randy playing Guitar Hero in his underwear. Obsidian previewed the demo to Trey and Matt at South Park Studios to get their feedback.
Kind of showing it, Matt immediately picked up the controller and just started running around. It was like playing the show.
Trey and Matt were very impressed, praising Obsidian for even getting the construction paper look and how you were able to see the texture. The next step was to begin development on a fully fledged game.
It was not necessarily something everybody at the company wanted to work on. Certain people that just feel that the show has objectionable content. Basically go out and say, who wants to work on this game? Who would be comfortable working on this game?
With this proof of concept, development began in 2009 on a brand new South Park game, being the first game in the series where the creators were fully in control, and Obsidian agreeing with the creators to bring their vision to life. The fact that Matt and Trey were involved with the production is what made the game feel so much like the show. The South Park Studios animation department was even in charge of the animating still.
They'll have their guys over at South Park animate it for us so that we can see exactly what they want, because we learned early on that they're very particular, and they should be.
This is yet another extension to everything that is South Park, because it's coming directly from Matt and Trey. First thing is that this needs to be South Park. It needs to be outrageous. It needs a lot of swearing. Children die. Things that happen are just crazy.
one of the most important things about South Park is the comedy, the narrative, and all the characters that you get to know watching the show. I think this is going to be the first game that really lives up to that. We're bringing the entire town of South Park to life.
You were going to be a new kid in the town because we wanted you to have your own identity.
With Parker quoting he took inspiration from games such as Earthbound and Zelda, as he loved in those games that you were a kid running around a town and could just walk into houses, etc. And with Zelda that the main character Link doesn't talk.
I hate when a character talks for you, and I hate when I'm this character and then I hear my character go, I'll get down there to the planet and take care of them. That's not what I would say. That's not how I would say it.
Which is the reason your character is mute throughout the game. The creators also wants to have the kids playing a simplistic game that turns into this massive adventure from their imagination.
We always lived in the show when the kids were playing a game. We have a lot of different shows where they're playing either FBI and cops, or they're playing like Lord of the Rings. So they're just playing this really simple game, kind of like Capture the Flag, but it's basically the stick.
Forgot to mention the main power in the game is farts. Of course it is.
It was really important that you didn't just press a button to fart, but that it was analog. No, you need to like feel it go out of your asshole.
Trey and Matt wants the game to replicate the humor of the show, meaning instead of 20 minutes, they needed to span that humor for a runtime of 12 hours.
Making a game that's going to be hours and hours and hours long, and it needs to be funny all the way through. I don't know that there have been any games that have really nailed comedy all the way through on the scale that we're going to be doing it in the South Park.
Me.
If you've ever seen the documentary, you saw how stressful the process was writing a South Park episode. This game is what that's like over the course of 3 years, the creators told IGN. One huge issue the game suffered was delays. Former publisher THQ delayed the game in November, with the then president Jason Rubin saying he believes the game has the potential to be one of 2013's biggest. The game was later postponed to March of 2014, and during that time took on a new publisher after THQ went bankrupt. A fan asked the duo how they felt as the game's original publisher THQ crumbled.
Did you guys ever really fear that the game would just get canned and never?
That's what we were hoping for. Oh good, it's over.
Trey states it was actually a good thing after Ubisoft took charge.
They're great, and they really share our desire for quality. They really they get it. They're not saying no, just put it out and make the money.
They also had issues with censorship. ESRB demanded certain scenes be removed or changed due to their foul nature, including an abortion and anal probe scene, just to name a few, which was replaced by title cards to match the regions associated with the censor. The whole process was a nightmare, with Parker saying, whatever you do, don't ask about the stick of truth, at a South Park panel at Comic-Con that was for the stick of truth.
Just no questions about the stick of truth. Please do not ask anything about when it's coming out.
Clearly, they didn't want to rush the project, as wants to give the fans of the show a great game.
And so, I think ultimately we're going to end up with something really awesome. It's just going to, we're not going to put it out till it's done.
I'm hoping that we make a game that's worthy of the show, and I don't know if we'll be able to pull it off, but that's what we're really trying to do.
I hope we don't get a fucking 4 on GameSpot. That's what I hope. That'll piss me off.
And luckily, Trey Parker got his wish, as GameSpot gave the game a 7, which is a good score, but the game was overwhelmed with positive reviews, seeing more 9 and 10s than Leonardo DiCaprio has on his CD yacht, having a perfect score of 10 out of 10 on Steam, and IGN giving it a 9 out of 10. IGN quotes, "I never want to play another South Park video game made without Trey Parker and Matt Stone's direct intimate involvement. With a controller in your hand, you are almost literally gloriously playing a 14-hour episode of South Park. It's funny, shocking, self-effacing, and pretty much everything I could ask for from a South Park game." Gamer Informer reported it's one of the most faithful adaptations of a license I've seen. Most enjoyable, hilarious, and disgustingly offensive role-playing games I've played, period. Matt and Trey had done it. They had saved the South Park gaming franchise. No longer will it be remembered for mindless turkeys, intelligent turkeys, go-karts and crappy quizzes, but for anal probes, swinging balls, and of course abortions. And honestly, isn't that how every game wants to be remembered? Oh yeah, and then they did it again with Fractured Butthole. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down below. Hit that subscribe button if enjoyed. Thanks for watching.